I'm Dr. Bridget Taylor. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Alpine Learning Group. Welcome to our Innovations in Autism webinar series. Alpine Learning Group offers a full range of diagnostic and applied behavior analysis-based educational and clinical services to individuals of all ages. Each year during Autism Acceptance Month, we share our expertise through free webinars and make them available to the community. I'm so thrilled this year our webinar series is being presented in partnership with Autism New Jersey, a nonprofit agency committed to ensuring safe and fulfilling lives of individuals with autism, their families, the professionals who support them. Today's webinar is Guardians of Safety, empowering parents, caregivers, and service providers to prioritize safety in autism interventions. At the close of this presentation, we'll share a QR code so that you can learn about other presentations in this series. I'm so excited to introduce Cortney, DeBiase, Doreen, Yanik of Autism New Jersey, who will share information to guide parents and caregivers and service providers to prioritize safety within autism interventions and how to create safe environments by teaching important safety skills. I'll let Cortney take it away.
Thank you, Bridget, and thank you to everyone joining us today. I'm excited to be here with Doreen to talk with you about how to keep individuals with autism safe and provide you with the tools necessary to teach safety skills. Our agenda today will cover a variety of topics, from why we should be concerned about safety through identifying which safety skills to teach. Doreen will share information about Autism New Jersey's new law enforcement initiative as well. So why should we be concerned about safety? We should be concerned about safety and prioritize safety due to the increased number of deaths that are reported. Chevelle, Strauss, and Pickett looked at the largest population of persons with ASD and found 202 deaths for the periods between 1983 and 1997. Most were due to medical causes. However, accident and avoidable loss of life were a key factor in many others. These include 11 drownings, 8 suffocations, and 30 deaths from other causes, primarily motor vehicle accidents. In another study published in 2017 by the American Public Health Association, 1,367 deaths were reported between the years of 1999 and 2014. Of those, the mean age at death was 36.2 years, in comparison to 72 years for the population without autism. 381 of those deaths were attributed to injury. Suffocation was the leading cause of mortality, followed by asphyxiation and drowning. In 2008, Danish researchers found that the mortality rate among the autism spectrum disorder population is twice as high as the general population. In 2001, a California research team found that elevated death rates among those with ASD were in large part attributed to drowning. All of these numbers and statistics are alarming and demonstrates the urgency in teaching safety skills. Just like you see in this picture, the individual with autism may not understand what is safe versus unsafe. Likewise, they may not understand the risks of elopement, wandering away from adults, and running away from something unpleasant. For example, an individual may be walking down the street and a dog may run towards them, and they may dart into the street to avoid the dog. This can result in major injury. They may engage in climbing on furniture, eating non-edible items, or ingestion of poisonous substances. Fire safety is important because they may not initially respond to fire alarms or understand that fire is hot and not to touch stoves or lit candles. In addition, the risk of drowning is increased, and we'll discuss that further on the next slides. So why are individuals with autism at risk? There may be a lack of social and environmental awareness. They may have difficulty making discriminations. There may be difficulty with generalization, and they may have limited opportunities for observational learning. that's learning from peers and other models. They may also inconsistently respond to adult requests. And lastly, they may engage in challenging behavior. Some challenging behaviors that may put an individual with autism at risk are climbing on objects, ingesting inedible objects, engaging in destructive behavior, and darting away from areas and engaging in elopement. They may also have a preoccupation with water, which poses a drowning risk. They may have a preoccupation with locks or latches, and that can be an elopement risk. They may be intrigued by fire, which risks fires and burns. They may also have a preoccupation with eating found items. This can cause poisoning or cause intestinal blockages. In addition, sensory sensitivities may prevent traditional safety practices, such as one not wanting to wear a helmet when riding a bike or not wearing a seatbelt when in the car. There may also be communication deficits and difficulty understanding language. They may have challenges with understanding social cues and others' perspectives. This can put the individual in jeopardy in a variety of situations, such as if they're in a motor vehicle accident and have to communicate with first responders. Another challenge is the failure of others in the community to understand the intent of the person with autism. For example, an individual may have a tantrum or engage in aggressions in the community. A first responder may come to assist, but they may not understand the person with autism. This can lead to the use of inappropriate force and even weapons. As you can see, safety concerns are of utmost priority. Doreen Yanik is here to share information with you on how you can build connections with first responders in our community.
Thank you so much, Courtney. I am truly honored to participate with Alpine in this venture and much needed webinar series, particularly during Autism Awareness Month. Just very briefly, I know we have a great deal of content to get through. I am an attorney by trade. I retired from the Union County Prosecutor's Office, where I served as Deputy First Assistant and First Assistant Prosecutor there for more than 28 years. And now I'm incredibly proud of the fact that I serve as the director of the Autism New Jersey Law Enforcement Initiative, a much needed initiative. Now, while I know that many of you are familiar with Autism New Jersey, I am going to provide a brief background as soon as I can get to the next slide about Autism New Jersey. There you go. There you go. Thank you so much. I warned everybody I wasn't the most technologically savvy, so I'd like to go back one. Thank you so much, Dr. Teller, for outlining the mission statement of Autism New Jersey. Autism New Jersey is a nonprofit that has been servicing the autism community since 1965. While there is a great deal of work that organization does, I would like to just very briefly break it down into 4 main areas. Again, we service over 2,000 families and caregivers per year, most notably through our Information Services Department. Our Information Services Department provides referrals and service navigation assistance through our 804 Autism helpline. If you remember nothing else from this presentation, please remember 800, the number for autism, and through our website where we post clinical content. We have webinars, we have appropriate articles that are noteworthy. They are age-based. We provide a free library and database of publications as well as referral services. The information that we primarily provide can include evidence-based autism interventions, special education rights, which is extremely important, health insurance status, as well as financial planning for an individual and for families. There's also our clinical expertise. Our executive director, Dr. Buchanan, has done an amazing job assembling subject matter experts and professionals with experience in applied behavioral analysis, speech and language therapy, and psychology, which really fuels and provides the guidance for the very compassionate staff we have working our helpline. We're also very active in the public policy arena. And in that arena, Autism New Jersey takes a collaborative approach and strategy to crafting laws and state policy to benefit the autism community. This can include increasing funding for services, building strong and competent workforce to work with our children and our family members, and developing state capacity to really address and treat severe challenging behaviors. Our final area is awareness, and we can provide more information in the chat regarding our ambassador program, which has been incredibly successful. Now, some of the background I give is to explain how it is that the law enforcement initiative came to be. The staff at Autism New Jersey noticed an uptick, an extreme rise in calls to the helpline from individuals with autism and their family members expressing concern about interactions with the law enforcement community. Similarly, we were receiving a number of calls from law enforcement agencies and departments asking for guidance with respect to interactions with the autism community, how they can engage in better autism outreach and friendly practices, and in particular, special needs registries. We have worked with numerous departments, both on the county and municipal level, in trying to assist them in approaching this from a manner that is informed and compassionate and thoughtful. Now, with any initiative, there are certain basic building blocks. One is, whether it's law enforcement initiative or any other one that wants statewide impact, is to gather information. And I would include in this gathering information block relationship building and with network building, all of which we have done within the law enforcement initiative. We have sat down and identified our stakeholders, both in the autism community and the law enforcement community, not just leadership within law enforcement, but also those officers who would most commonly, based upon their duty title, come into contact with the autistic community. We have created relationship with them and network and connections. In the gathering information specifically, we sought to gather existing autism-friendly practices that a particular department may engage in, and to identify innovative ones. Once there was a consensus built, and we are continuing to work towards that between the autism and law enforcement communities, the next step would be to disseminate best practices, specifically best autism-friendly practices for law enforcement to adopt and engage in actively. Ultimately, the goal of the law enforcement initiative is to affect statewide policy through this dissemination of best practices, and to require, either via directive, guidance paper, guidelines from the state level down, real encouragement or requirement for law enforcement to become more aware of who they may be encountering, and to have safe and positive interactions between them and the law enforcement, between them and the autism communities. Sorry, I'm having a little delay in the, there you go. So why is this so incredibly important? Well, we all know the statistics that autistic individuals are 7 times more likely to encounter law enforcement, and sadly 3 times more likely to be the victim of violent crimes. It can also not just be violent crimes, it can be that they are taken advantage of by bad actors because of the vulnerabilities that they present with. Unfortunately, 4 out of 5 police calls will involve unusual or dangerous behaviors that may present themselves, and they may not necessarily be criminal. However, because of some of the training that law enforcement has, both in service as well as recruits, they have certain safety considerations and may misinterpret certain behaviors, which would raise red flags. Our ultimate goal here is to educate, raise awareness within law enforcement so that we can see a decrease in escalation, and it's certainly a decrease in any unwarranted or unnecessary use of force. Again, there's an increased difficulty for police in managing and interpreting these types of scenarios, and that has led to them reaching out to Autism New Jersey, requesting that we serve as a connector to the autism community. They are thirsty for the information and the knowledge, and they want safe interaction. And as such, we've identified and are working with our community members in identifying proactive and in the moment strategies for law enforcement to employ. The proactive would be preventative or in advance. So if that would mean setting up connections with their members in their community who have autism, meeting with them, having established municipal or countywide registries that the autism community can take advantage of, having signage or identification cards. Those are all proactive. Having autism awareness events, coffee with a cop, meeting the community, educating themselves and having training, all proactive. In the moment strategies are a bit more difficult, but we do have some in the moment strategies that we're working with law enforcement on so that, again, they can provide safe space to autistic individuals who they may encounter. They can be more understanding of limited communication abilities, provide a common focused setting and environment, and really be respectful of physical personal space considerations. So Autism New Jersey's law enforcement initiative was launched, again, the brainchild of Dr. Suzanne Buchanan, Dr. Novak, and the other staff at Autism New Jersey. It is a multi-phase, multi-level initiative. When I say multi-level, I mean on the state, county, and municipal or local law enforcement levels. We are ensuring that we've contacted leadership in all of those levels and the actual persons working on the street who will most likely have these encounters. Phase one has always been identified as the information gathering and relationship development phase. There will be no end to phase one. Phase one will remain open throughout the initiative as we continue to network, continue to make connections between law enforcement and the autism communities, and serve as that connector, and continue to identify, again, potentially innovative autism-friendly practices. As a result of phase one, we established a law enforcement advisory committee, which is made up of leadership and non-leadership on the street, law enforcement on the state, county, and local levels. They shall serve as our stakeholders within that community, identify current and existing autism-friendly practices, build a consensus, have them share and network with each other, and share that information with the autism community. We've conducted many individual and departmental meetings to network and to make sure that they understand the importance. And quite frankly, the response that we've received from the law enforcement community has been extremely overwhelming. They want this information. A leadership roundtable, a first of its kind, was held last year in Atlantic City, led by Autism New Jersey, which brought together all the autism and law enforcement communities with presentations from both. It was a wonderful opportunity for both communities to understand each other, to see the different standpoints or perspectives that they may be coming from and how they can build consensus and work together. We also, in the course of that roundtable and in the course of working with our law enforcement advisory committee, have developed various subcommittees with, again, a great deal of interest from law enforcement. Those subcommittees will concentrate on trainings, special needs registries, and we have worked extensively with several county and municipal police agencies in establishing and promoting and help writing their registries. The driver and passenger issues. The driver issue is most notable due to the license notation, wholly voluntary, that will become effective by the end of the year. Officers will need to be trained on that, will need to understand that they may be encountering a driver who presents with certain behaviors that would normally raise red flags for officers, and how officers can respond to that. And we also, of course, have passenger related issues. So a non-autistic individual who is the driver, but yet they have passengers in the vehicle with autism. And in the event of a car accident or a motor vehicle pull over, the officers are aware of potential behaviors that may be presented. We also setting up a subcommittee to work with families and group homes, which is a huge issue in some of our communities. Some calls with some of the local departments, 85% of their calls are to group homes. They need to be armed and have tools readily available to them in dealing with these situations, again, to ensure safe and positive interactions. Phase 2, which we are basically in, with phase 1 remaining open, is establishing a statewide network, continuing work with topical subcommittees, and disseminating really what we've identified as autism-friendly practices and best practices. Again, with the weigh-in and the stakeholder feedback from both the autism and the law enforcement communities. Ultimately, with phase 3, we hope to advocate for consensus statewide and statewide standards to be generated, again, in the effort to promote safe interactions. Bear with me as I move to the next very briefly. And I am going to be putting some links in the chat, which will help provide more additional information to Autism New Jersey, our law enforcement initiative, our law enforcement advisory committee, and in more depth, the autism friendly practices that we are encouraging our departments to actually adopt. So there are various practices that can be very easily broken down into introductions and interactions, effective communication, identification, and providing a supportive environment. So introductions are easy. We've encouraged departments to meet with individuals with autism and their families. We equally encourage members of the autism community and their families to reach out to the police departments, be proactive, ask for meetings, ask for even potentially home visits. Many of the departments do actually engage in that. Identification is incredibly important. You have ID cards and the license notation, again, that will become effective by the end of the year. Family members often have medical ID bracelets. There's signage and decals that are frequently handed out by departments that engage in this practice so that family members can utilize them. We have the Blue Envelope program, which I'll discuss in a little bit more depth later, and that is going like wildfire throughout New Jersey, by the way. And important, especially with our passenger related scenarios, are seatbelt covers. This has been a hit with many of our departments because it helps immediately identify that individual as someone who may present with different behaviors, and therefore law enforcement must adjust their response. For effective communication, obviously, an in-a-moment strategy, use clear and concise language, use visual aids. We're trying to train or have officers be aware of the use of different communicative devices and be familiar with the fact that the person you are attempting to gain information from might not have the ability to relay that information effectively, and do not immediately assume the worst. So we are truly trying to change a mindset, and they have been extremely receptive, and provide a supportive environment. So when officers do respond to your home or in any other location that you may come into contact with them, it's important that they reduce the noise and too much stimuli. So we encourage them when necessary to not use lights and sirens, as that can be a trigger. Use de-escalation techniques, which they are all taught, both in the academy and in service, and be mindful again of personal space considerations. Do not surround an individual who is presenting with certain behaviors and is a member of the autism community. Do not overwhelm them, which could lead to even more behaviors. I can speak from firsthand on that occurring. What can parents and families do? Well, one of the things that we have always encouraged our families to do is to be proactive. Again, reach out to your local law enforcement agency. Inquire of them, do you engage in autism friendly practices, and what are they? Do you do autism friendly outreach to the community? Do you have an autism or special needs liaison? Can we meet with leadership within your department so that my child, my adult family member feels more comfortable, so that their first interaction is not a negative one? Another example, by the way, for reaching out is for those members of the autism community who are going to be driving. And to allay the fears of family members and the autistic individual, many departments engage in mock pullovers, something I highly recommend and I wish I had done for a certain family member as well. This will decrease their level of nervousness, make them feel more comfortable in a law enforcement officer's presence, and perhaps have a better sense of what they're going to be encountering. Let Autism New Jersey be your connector. Please reach out to us and we can get you, as we frequently have, in contact with your local police department or your county department. Some strategies on how to connect with law enforcement. Again, reach out to them and ask about meetings, ask about decals, identification cards. Some departments utilize baseball type cards, others utilize more formalized laminated cards. There are always magnets. Ask them flat out, what kind of autism friendly training does your department engage in? And I'd like to know more about it. That is your right to inquire, and I'm sure they'd be more than happy to respond. Inquire whether there's a local or county run special needs registry. This is different than Register Ready. This is for police agencies to allow their internal communication assisted database systems to speak with one another, so that in the event of an elopement or in the event of a response to a particular residence, the officers are aware of what they may encounter when they respond to that home. So I highly encourage involvement in the registries. We've had some amazing municipal department registries that serve as role models for all others. And we have about 13 of the 21 counties now with countywide registries. We have involvement in we encourage involvement in the autism community outreach and awareness. Now, that's not just for April. This should be year-long outreach and involvement and making those connections and making sure that there is a level of comfort between the two where there can be a free exchange between the family members and law enforcement. Participation in the Blue Envelope program. This, again, as I said, is spreading like wildfire. I am going to cite two particular counties that are engaged in this program, and you will see a slide in a little bit that discusses the Blue Envelope program. Hunterdon County Prosecutor's Office and their police agencies, municipal police agencies, have partnered with Hunterdon County Medical Center to create their Blue Envelope. Now, Blue Envelope originated in Connecticut, and we have continually used their format. However, with the partnership with a medical center, as Union County has done with Trinitas Regional Medical Center. Number one, it sends the publishing costs to the hospital, which is very helpful for limited law enforcement budgets. It shows a partnership between the hospital and the police department or the county, and it provides a larger ability to disseminate. So both Hunterdon County Regional Medical Center and Trinitas Regional Medical Center make the Blue Envelope program or the Blue Envelope available within all of their doctors' offices, the psychiatric emergency rooms, their general emergency rooms, and all of their staff are trained on the actual program, as is law enforcement. So I will get to very quickly, I know that we're limited in time, a discussion or an example of the Blue Envelope program. We've already discussed mock pullovers. They're spreading like wildfire as well. I highly recommend that to any family whose child is about to drive. And we are certainly advocating for and encouraging real-time locative devices. So the county sheriff's office in each county is really the one that is responsible for the use of any type of locative device in the event of a wandering and elopement. And it's typically and has historically been Project Lifesaver. However, other vendors are coming forward that are real-time tracking. We do not have a financial connection with nor a partnership with AngelSense. It is just one of the vendors that we have identified as providing that ability. We've met with them several times and they have done demos for us, and we're extremely impressed with their product. I would note that for AngelSense, they are making a special offer during Autism Awareness Month, where the device is free and the subscription is the only addition. However, as I previously indicated, the county sheriff's offices administer it. If a county were to contract with a real-time locative device vendor, then the county assumes that cost of the vendor, and any family member that registers with the county, either through the disabilities and aged department or through the county sheriffs, would have that service made available to them for free. The only cost would be a replacement cost for a device, which I believe would be $99 if it were lost or damaged. And you'll have the ability to see the very different types of devices AngelSense and other locative, real-time locative device vendors offer. The Blue Envelope program, really ingenious. It is wholly voluntary, as is the license notation. This is an opportunity for those autistic drivers to carry this in their vehicle, have it, readily available to be able to hand it over in the event of a motor vehicle pullover, or God forbid there were a motor vehicle accident, it would be available in the vehicle. It includes their registration and their license, and basically explains why this is so important, what some of the triggers may be, the behaviors may be, and it also provides contact information, sometimes treatment provider information. This is an example of Hunterdon counties, and again, they were wise enough to partner with the Hunterdon County Medical Center, something I highly recommend, and this is, again, spreading like wildfire. I'm so sorry. Bear with me, I'm so sorry. Again, on AngelSense and assistive technology for safety and increased independence. Again, wearable devices designed for the special needs. So some may be lanyards, some may be an arm wristband, some may be an anklet, others may be a device that is sewn very inconspicuously into clothing worn by your child. So what my favorite feature, quite frankly, is of AngelSense is the app, which allows parents to engage in a one-way listening conversation, so that if there are ever fears that if a child is at school or is on a bus that takes them to school, that there are any potential abusive situations, the parent has the opportunity to engage in that one-way listening conversation, and it has proven to be invaluable to family members. Again, several counties are in fact moving towards real-time tracking devices for wandering and elopement, school and public transportations, transitions to new environments and changes in schedules. And again, as I previously indicated, potential mistreatment by caregivers or other children, which would ultimately be pursued if there were a case and following an investigation by law enforcement. So it's important to provide them with that tool as well. Safety is paramount, both for law enforcement and for the autism communities. This is our goal. We will continue through our network building and through our many meetings and our law enforcement advisory committee discussions, subcommittee work, and outreach to the autism community to connect the two communities. We've already engaged in it. We've already hooked up many families with their local police departments, and they are grateful because knowledge is invaluable. More information you have, the better you can service your child. Build consensus within those communities. It's important, again, to identify those stakeholders, identify, disseminate, encourage adoption of autism-friendly practices statewide, and then ultimately affect statewide policy changes to benefit the autism community. And this will also benefit the law enforcement community, again, which is thirsty for the knowledge. I will be placing in the chat certain links which may provide additional information. And again, if it's one thing you take away from this, it's 800 for Autism and our website, which provides a great deal of information on our initiative, our efforts, and really our commitment to ensuring safe and fulfilling lives for the autism community. Thank you, Cortney.
Thank you, Doreen. Learning about Autism New Jersey's efforts to support families and individuals with autism in staying safe was enlightening. It will be impossible for me to cover every safety concern in this presentation, so I'm going to focus on elopement and what steps you can take, as well as what skills you can teach. As briefly discussed earlier, elopement is one of the greatest safety concerns. Elopement is the act of running away, wandering away, or otherwise leaving a safe setting, unsupervised or unnoticed. Hornberger et al. Found 80% of children with ASD elope. It was not possible to predict elopement by age of child, developmental level, number of adults in the household, communicative ability of the child, or leisure skills of the child. Functions and interventions for elopement. Why elope? Individuals engage in elopement for various reasons. Piazza et al. Found that elopement may serve a function. The individual may be trying to escape demands. Maybe you told them to clean their toys or room, or maybe they're trying to escape something aversive to them, such as a loud sound or someone vacuuming. They may be trying to leave to access something tangible, or they may be trying to go to their favorite location. For instance, they may leave and walk towards the ice cream store, or they may be looking to gain attention from someone. When assessing elopement, it is extremely important to consult with a professional due to the risk for danger. The professional will conduct a functional analysis to determine the function and then help identify treatments and skills to teach. Here are a few treatments described in literature. The first is teaching functional communication training, which we'll discuss later on in greater detail. It has also been found that blocking, providing differential reinforcement and rules, and providing non-contingent reinforcement are all effective strategies. Because attention is provided inadvertently when implementing blocking, Lang demonstrated that providing non-contingent access to attention helped to decrease the behavior to access attention. This brings us to our next topic. What can you as caregivers and professionals do to ensure individuals with autism are safe? Be proactive. Take steps to prevent the opportunity to engage in unsafe practices. Identify not only the skills that need to be taught, but also assess your house and environment. The last thing you'll do is develop a safety plan and address behaviors of concern and teach safety skills. Safety begins at home. There are many safety locks available for all types of doors, including bifold and sliding doors, as well as windows. When choosing a lock, consider how complicated it will be to use. Consider the location of the lock. Consider an emergency door lock release. Door chimes or alarms that signal when the door or window is open are extremely helpful. Look into window guards and ensure there are locks on gates and fences. Also, camera systems such as Ring and Nest are great tools. You can also consider using the autism elopement form that can be found at www.aware.org or a kind form at www.kind-find.com and notify local non-emergency telephone personnel to note in the 911 database that someone with autism lives at the address. Provide them with a picture and information for the file. Make sure the individual has medical identification jewelry. Caregivers have a variety of options: bracelets, pendants, watch charms, shoe tags, and even temporary tattoos. It is important to think about what information you want engraved into the jewelry. We recommend including information such as name, contact number, home phone number, diagnosis, with a characteristic, for example, autism, nonverbal. Some companies include their number on the jewelry, and once contacted, they will access the information in their system and notify the contact person. In addition to jewelry, providing the individual with an identification card to keep in their pocket or wallet is an easy way to help them to be identified in the event of an emergency. You can include the same information on this identification card as the jewelry. Here are a list of companies that produce medical alert jewelry. This presentation will be made available to you and will be posted on our website should you need a copy of this list. There are a variety of tracking devices out there today. Doreen mentioned a few of them, but here are some additional that you may be interested in. This is not a comprehensive list, just a list of a few of the top rated. These are all pretty small and lightweight. They are sensory friendly, and they have live location sharing. They each have some unique feature, such as an SOS button and smart alerts. Most of these do require a monthly subscription. The GeoBit, for example, ranges from $8.99 a month to $14.99 per month, and the AngelSense ranges from $33 a month to $52 a month. Another layer of safety is the use of cell phones. The first thing you should do is ensure tracking is set up. You can use your service provider or apps such as Life360 and Find My iPhone. In addition to the trackers, using cell phones to track individuals increases their safety. If the individual has a cell phone, update the emergency contact information. Also update their personal medical information. It's a good idea to have a background of the phone, have an emergency contact number in the event that they are lost or in danger and someone doesn't know how to access their medical information or contact information. All they have to do is press the home button and they'll see the emergency information. So now that you've ensured the individual has the necessary identification and tools to help keep them safe, let's talk about what additional steps you can take. You may want to provide your neighbor a picture of the individual. You may also want to provide helpful information about them, such as if they're unable to speak or respond to simple directions. Let them know if they like to swim and kindly request them to lock their pool. It's a good idea to educate them about autism in general. Give them your cellular phone number and ask them to keep an eye out for the individual. And if they ever do see them unattended and alone, to contact you immediately. Steps like these can help increase their overall safety. Next, you're going to want to develop a list of some of the individual's favorite locations. It's important to know the route of the individual and the route they may take to get to these locations. Get to know the staff at these locations and make sure that they have a way to contact you in the event the individual does end up there. There are many other safety concerns that we won't have time to go into detail about, such as drowning, fire safety, and poison safety. I've listed just a few of the steps to take to increase safety in each area, such as using a pool alarm and teaching the individual to ask to swim, and having working fire alarms in each room that people sleep in, and practicing fire drills. In regards to poison, place locks on cabinets where poisonous substances are located, and label all poisons with the same label and teach to that label. I want to take a minute and highlight the September 26th project. This project was initiated by a parent who tried to save her son from a fire. This website provides resources to help families and their loved ones with autism prepare for and avoid tragedies. They have various resources available, such as fire safety checklists and wandering prevention checklists. Again, that's the September 26th project. So now that we've discussed what you can do in the home and steps you can take to increase safety, let's talk about teaching. We'll share with you a few skills you can teach and provide information on how they can be taught. But first, let's take a look at what the research says. Argan and Krupp surveyed parents, and 93% considered safety skills to be very important part of the educational experience. And 81% said that there has never been a safety skill listed in their child's IEP as a goal. The research indicates that individuals with autism can be taught safety skills. Fisher, Burke, and Griffin taught individuals with mild intellectual disabilities to resist lures from strangers using classroom training and then in situ live situations. Sprivey and Meckling used video modeling to teach young women with intellectual disabilities to appropriately respond to requests for money and someone entering their personal space. Summers taught children with autism to get an adult when the doorbell rang, and another 3 to leave an area when hazardous chemicals were present, utilizing the behavior skills training package. Garcia et al. Used modeling and rehearsal to teach fire safety skills to children with autism. They taught children to evacuate and to notify an adult when the fire alarm signals. You may be wondering how to identify the best skills to teach. At Alpine, we conduct a safety assessment with caregivers, and this is conducted annually. This helps us identify goals to focus on and teach, as well as guides us in developing a safety plan. The team selects goals that are functional to teach at home, as well as at school and in the community. This is all based off of the safety assessment. You'll see, it's not just about identifying skills, but this also assesses the environment. This is just a snapshot of some of the questions on the assessment. You can email me for a copy of this assessment. Additionally, Autism Speaks provides a variety of helpful resources for wandering and elopement, including a safety prevention checklist, an elopement alert form to share with first responders, a neighbor alert form, and so much more. Here's a list of some of the skills you can teach as parents, caregivers, and professionals. This is not a comprehensive list, but it's just a few of the many important safety skills to focus on. We will highlight a few of these and explain how they can be taught. So how do individuals with autism learn best? Some studies have demonstrated that video modeling and behavioral skills training is effective. Behavioral skills training includes instruction, modeling, role play, feedback, and simulated sessions, and then training in the natural environment. So the first skill we're going to talk about is functional communication training. Stevenson et al. Conducted a study on the use of functional communication training to decrease elopement in a child with autism. Functional communication training is a differential reinforcement procedure where an individual is taught an alternative response that results in the same class of reinforcement, identified as maintaining the problem behavior. So in this study, it looked like the individual was taught to ask properly for relevant items and activities. This individual stopping him when he eloped, brought him back to the spot where the elopement began, prompted a vocal request indicating what he wanted or where he wanted to go, and then provided, as necessary, provided brief social praise for complying to the instructions. Gradually, a delay would be incorporated into the reinforcement. So this procedure can be helpful in teaching individuals to ask for attention, teaching them to ask to go places, teaching them to get items, teaching them to ask for breaks. It could be used across many different contexts. So a beginner skill that can be taught is to wait in designated areas. This could be helpful in various situations, such as when you are checking out at a doctor's office or when you're in a store purchasing something. If an individual has not learned to wait in designated areas, they may engage in elopement. So when teaching, initially use a stimulus prompt to signal where to wait. The stimulus prompt can be any item the individual can stand on. You're going to provide the instruction, wait here. Stand at various locations and provide reinforcement. You may need to start close initially and increase your distance upon successes. You want to make sure you vary the location of where this is practiced. Once the individual is consistently waiting, start to fade the stimulus prompt. Make sure the individual can demonstrate the skill with various people and in various locations, including in the community. The next skill you can teach is to stop walking or running when told stop. You'll want to walk alongside the individual, state the instruction stop, Guide the individual to stop walking by guiding them at the shoulder. Provide reinforcement for stopping. And continue. So the next step would be to have the individual run alongside of you and then present the instruction to stop. Again, you may need to prompt at the shoulders, and then systematically fade that. You're going to want to fade tangible reinforcers, fade your prompts, generalize across settings and people, and then program in the community. The next skill is teaching an individual to stay with an adult. So you're going to teach the individual to walk alongside you and stay with you when you stop, or when you turn, or when you go in a different direction. Use a variety of instructions. Walk with me, stay with me, walk this way. You're going to prompt them to stand alongside of you. Provide differential reinforcement for staying with you. So differential reinforcement may look like, hey, great job, you stayed with me. A little bit of a voice inflection. You're going to want to fade prompts over successful trials. You want to fade prompts. You want to fade your reinforcement. And again, you want to generalize across settings and people and program in the community. For learners who do not have well-developed vocal communication, you can use a communication device. You want to program the device with answers to social questions that are appropriate for the learner. You're going to approach the individual and ask a social question, or ask, what's your name? When they give a vocal response, say, I don't understand, or what? Prompt them to activate the communication device and answer the question. Provide reinforcement for the response of activating the device. You're going to generalize across settings, people, stimuli, and questions. And then you want to program in the community. This could be extremely helpful, in a dangerous situation. If a law enforcement officer or first responder comes and says, what's your name? And they're able to use their device to communicate that effectively. You can also input emergency information into their device so that they can provide their contact information for their parent or caregiver as well. So you may be wondering, how does someone know they're lost? So this requires comprehension of an abstract concept. Knowing their location and motivation to be reunited can also be helpful. But what if they don't know they're lost? Dr. Taylor conducted a study in 2009 and found that individuals who cannot discriminate if they are lost can be taught to respond to a prompt, such as answering a cell phone. So utilizing technology can be extremely helpful in teaching safety skills. In order to signal to an individual that they are lost, there are some other prerequisite skills to teach when using a cell phone. So some of these skills are answering the phone with ring and with vibration, holding the phone to their ear, following instructions, stating their location, and using FaceTime. Let me share what using a cell phone for safety skills may look like. Picture an individual is at the grocery store with their caregiver. The caregiver turns to get an item, and the individual walks away because they see something they really want. The caregiver can call the individual on the cell phone and say, where are you? The individual can say the bathroom. They're able to state their location and answer the phone. Another situation would be in the grocery store. The learner has to go to the bathroom and walks away from the parent and goes to the bathroom. The learner comes out and is walking around but cannot find the parent or caregiver. The caregiver calls to find where the individual is. The individual picks up the phone and turns it to FaceTime. The parent caregiver can say, where are you? Show me. And the individual can turn the phone around and show their exact location via FaceTime. So now that we've discussed strategies to teach safety skills, let's talk about how to write a safety plan. So when considering a safety plan, make the assessment and treatment a priority. Develop the safety plan and evaluate the progress often. Stay abreast of the latest technology and information related to safety and make changes to the plan as appropriate. There are always new products and information coming out. As a professional, check in with families often to see what has changed in terms of safety and make it a priority to maintain safety skills over time and in various contexts. Okay. Here's an example of a safety plan, which includes home goals, community goals, and skills to target during instruction. The background information has information about prior safety incidences and safety concerns. So you can see here, John Smith, 5 years old. He has left his house twice unaccompanied by an adult. He's opened the gate in the backyard twice. He's been found playing in the garage with gasoline. They live near a busy highway. He does not wear a medical ID bracelet, and he cannot answer social questions. So many concerns here, right? There's an elopement risk. Playing with poison. They live near a highway, and no way to express who he is, what his name is, where he lives. The next section includes home and community goals and skills to target during instruction. There may be skills that require prerequisite skills, so ensure the individual has the basic skills prior to teaching more complex skills. For example, an individual must know how to work a cell phone prior to learning how to use FaceTime to show their location in the community when lost. Lastly, include a plan for the behavior you are addressing. This example shows an elopement plan that would be implemented in the event the individual eloped. Remember, a safety plan is not just about how safe the individual is, but it's also about how safe their environment is. As we conclude our discussion today on safety and autism, let's reflect on the key steps we discussed. Remember to keep emergency responders informed. Make sure the individual has medical identification jewelry or an ID. Secure your home and teach skills that will increase safety. And in summary, individuals with autism can absolutely learn safety skills. I hope this presentation has been helpful and provided you with insight on how to enhance the safety of individuals with autism. Thank you so much for your time. And if you have any questions, feel free to email myself or Doreen. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much, Doreen and Cortney. That was so informative. Great information. It's wonderful to see all the work that Autism New Jersey is doing in this area. Very exciting. I just want to provide an opportunity for questions. If anybody has questions, if they could put them in the Q&A below or in the chat. There's one question that says, what is the Blue Envelope program? Doreen, you're on mute.
Dr. Taylor, thank you. I did see that question and I responded to it to the best of my ability. I know I was a little quick with it during the presentation, and I apologize for droning on as long as I did. But the Blue Envelope program, again, is a voluntary program, which is active in many towns and counties. Not all of them, but it is spreading quickly. It originated, as I said, in Connecticut. It's an envelope that an autistic driver can immediately hand over during the course of a motor vehicle stop. The Blue Envelope is immediately recognizable by those officers that have a Blue Envelope program. As this is someone who's handing me the envelope, I know that this is a driver with autism. They can open it. The driving credentials of the driver are in the envelope. And then there is additional information regarding contact information, more individual specific information, potential behaviors, potential triggers, any medication they may be on. And again, it's wholly voluntary for them to disclose. And it's de-escalates the situation, and again, gives the officer another tool in his or her tool belt to recognize that this, what I've been trained to recognize as suspicious behavior may not be that. And now I know through seeing this blue envelope that, this individual has autism.
That's fabulous. Great idea. Any other questions? I'm sure, as you heard today, keeping people with autism safe requires interventions to teach skills. It requires the community to be actively involved and a lot of proactive strategies. We really appreciate you being here today. As a reminder, this webinar is one of a series that takes place over Autism Acceptance Month. You can use the QR code here to learn more about other webinars in this series or previous webinars that were conducted and recorded in prior years. Alpine Learning Group provides a range of services. These are QR codes that can link you both to Alpine Learning Group and Autism New Jersey. And if no one has any further questions, I just want to thank you all for being here, and we will wrap up. Thank you so much, Doreen. Thank you so much, Cortney.
Thank you so much. It's an honor.
Yes.